When we talk about science and we talk about religion, I think it's fair to say that there are two massive approaches that have each massively and significantly changed the world in ways that we might not even recognize. The first is a set of religious ideas, and humans had some form of religion from long before. Humans, it seems in the archaeological record, cooperated very well in very small groups and numbers with more or less some kind of equality in hunter-gatherer societies. But once humans start to move into larger populations, they either collapse, like in ancient Hayuk and Jericho, or they start to build what we now call civilizational cities, social complexity and typical inequalities and deliberate political structures where one type of human dominates another or has different laws to them, where there's a lot of a valuing of violence and conquest, where the idea of education is restricted to small minorities, and all sorts of value systems we wouldn't really recognize today. And it's specific religions that challenged all this with an idea of one single God who loves everybody, with laws that said kings can't have too much power, education has to be for every child, social responsibility even for strangers and people who don't belong to our clan. These types of ideas were radical and completely changed the world in one way. Science came along and began to study the world and gave us tools and technology. Modern science was interestingly born at an interesting nexus. People like Isaac Newton in the 17th century and Francis Bacon said, one second, they believed in this monotheistic model of God, and therefore there must be much more order and unity to the world than we currently see. In his great writings about all this, Francis Bacon actually disagreed with the Greeks who'd left too many laws and not ordered enough universe, and so we need to do experimental science and really try to probe things that appear intuitively one way and go deeper than where the Greeks went. And Newton, of course, discovers the unification of gravitational laws, and ever since then we've been unifying more and more and more. And that was an interesting nexus point, because what's happened now is that science exploded, giving us so many tools and so many abilities to do pretty much whatever we want. But science doesn't tell us what to do with that knowledge and information. The faith of Torah and monotheism seems to have given us a beautiful model of what to do. Of course, there's radicals who use these things in terrible ways, as people use every ideology in terrible ways. But when it's done right, it gives us a sense of the cooperative power of looking at a world where we're all here as God's children, and we want to bring everybody into a state of perfection, and where every single good deed that we do has infinite significance. And we have the scientific tools that, if used correctly, can bring all that into being. So yes, in other videos, I've got a whole Rabbi React series discussing having reactions to critics of religion. Often they're trying to bring in science. I've got a Maven course actually for those interested, covering topics of Jewish philosophy, including science and religion, and including morality and religion, all these sorts of things. But I wanted to just leave that point that these two great ways of thinking have together provided us with a vision and with a set of tools that, if implemented, could really bring huge blessing to the world.